Imagine being married to the most beautiful and devoted woman. She is quiet and follows your instructions. It's all working fine, as long as you don't leave town for work. When you returned, your world turns upside down. The story revolves around a young girl named Catherine. Since she comes from a poor family, this marriage was arranged by her parents. On her first night, her maid, Anna, dresses her for bed. But things take a strange turn when her husband, Alexander, enters the room. He commands Catherine to stay inside the house all the time. The girl tries to explain that she loves being outdoors, but Alexander doesn't seem to care. He commands her to remove her clothes. But instead of getting close, he turns off the light, takes off his clothes, and goes to sleep. Poor Catherine is left standing in the dark, confused. Days turned into weeks, and Catherine's life fell into the same routine. She spent most of her time inside, either by the window or on the sofa, daydreaming about her happy life. She patiently waits for her husband to make a move, but he remains uninterested and distant. His cold behavior makes the girl feel abandoned and lonely. One day, Alexander's father, Boris, reminds Catherine of her responsibility to produce a male heir, and to fulfill her duty, she has to try every night. She apologizes to him and promises to do her best in the future. Then, he orders Anna to make sure Catherine does not fall asleep and is prepared to serve her husband when he returns. After waiting for hours, Alexander finally arrives. Instead of being nice, he shouts at Catherine to remove her cloths facing the wall. She thinks something will happen this time. But rather than getting closer, Alexander sits on a chair, self-pleasing himself without even touching her. The harsh reality of their loveless marriage shocked Catherine. During breakfast, Boris informs her that Alexander has left town for work, and he's also heading to London. In the meantime, she will be in charge of the household. Seizing this opportunity, Catherine sneaks out to a big open field to breathe in the fresh air and enjoy her freedom for a short while. One day, while taking a nap, Catherine heard a loud noise. She spots a man running outside and decides to follow him. Sadly, the girl discovers that her maid, Anna, has been cruelly mistreated. Some workers have tied her up in a sack for fun. Catherine gets really mad and yells at everyone. She tells them to turn around and face the wall so Anna can cover herself. While all this is happening, Catherine feels a strange attraction to one of the workers. Despite her anger, she curiously asks him to guess her weight. He boldly grabs her in an attempt to fulfill her request. Catherine pushes him away, stating that she will inform her husband about this. Sometime later, Catherine asks Anna about the worker. Anna informs her that his name is Sebastian, even after knowing that he violated her maid. She can't stop thinking about him. The next morning, Catherine wakes up earlier than usual and ventures outside. By coincidence, she met Sebastian. He attempts to talk to her, but she ignores him. At night, she is not able to sleep. There is something more she needs in her life that her husband can't give her. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door. She slowly opens it and finds Sebastian standing outside. Catherine tries to close the door on him, but he manages to overpower her and get inside. Initially, she pushes him away when he tries to get close. But after a while, Catherine cannot hold her urge and gives in. She throws him on the bed, gets undressed, and starts making love. The next day, Anna discovers that Catherine spent the night with Sebastian. In the absence of her husband, Catherine spends most of her time in bed, making love with Sebastian. Concerned about Catherine's behavior, she decides to inform a local priest about the situation. When the priest comes to warn Catherine, she dismisses him, claiming there is nothing to worry about. One day, while collecting mushrooms, Anna runs into Sebastian. She advises him to end this relationship, but he pays no heed to her warnings and continues his passionate affair with Catherine. A few days later, Boris returns home from London and the situation becomes more complicated. His presence forced Catherine to stop her passionate encounters and return to her boring routine. After dinner, Boris asks Anna for his favorite wine, but she hesitantly replies that it's finished. When he asks for an explanation, she remains silent since Catherine had consumed all the wine. In anger, he forced Anna to leave the room by walking like an animal. Soon, someone informs Boris about his daughter-in-law's affair. He brutally beats Sebastian and orders his servant to lock him up. Then, he confronts Catherine about her actions. But that woman is full of arrogance. She asks him to free Sebastian without feeling guilty. Boris loses his temper and slaps Catherine so hard that her ancestors realize they made a mistake. Next day, she again asks Boris to release Sebastian, but he ignores her and walks back to his room. Seizing the opportunity, Catherine locks his room from the outside and invites Anna to join her for breakfast. Suddenly, Boris starts screaming in pain. Anna gets up to help him, but Catherine forces her to sit down. After some time, he stops screaming. Catherine asks Anna to call a doctor. After she leaves, Catherine rushes to rescue Sebastian. The doctor arrives and confirms Boris's death. It is revealed that Catherine poisoned her father-in-law's breakfast. Anna cries out in despair, exhausted from these rich people's games. Later on, Catherine receives a letter from Alexander, stating that he would not attend the funeral as he hated his father and her. She felt relieved as there was no one to stop her. Meanwhile, Sebastian is worried that Anna will reveal their secret, but Catherine reassures him. That night, Catherine wakes up by some noise and discovers that Alexander has returned. She quickly hides Sebastian in the balcony and sits on the bed as if she is waiting for Alexander. When he arrives, he questions why she is still awake, to which she responds that the horses disturbed her sleep. During their conversation, Alexander notices a belt and grows suspicious. However, Catherine manages to convince him that she found it on the farm and is using it to measure her weight. She suggests having some tea in order to send Alexander out of the room, although he insists on staying inside. While having tea, Alexander confronts Catherine about her affair, stating she has been spreading her legs so wide that he was able to find out from miles away. He reminds Catherine that Boris bought her for less than the price of a cow. He feels humiliated and wants her to change her ways so that she can end her relationship with Sebastian. That woman pulls out the servant and sits provocatively on his lap, glaring at Alexander. In rage, he slaps her, and a fight breaks out between him and Sebastian to protect her lover. The woman eliminates Alexander. Then, Sebastian decides to dispose of Alexander's body in the woods, while Catherine shoots the horse to remove evidence of his arrival. Once all evidence has been disposed, they try to resume their lives. However, Sebastian struggles with sleep, haunted by Alexander's face and puzzled by Catherine's ability to move on so quickly after such a traumatic event. But Catherine assured him that this was necessary to protect their love. She induced him to make love so he could forget about the past. After being freed from their masters, Catherine and Sebastian spend their entire day in bed. Everything is going well until one day, an unexpected visitor named Agnes arrives with a young boy named Teddy. She makes the bold claim that Teddy is the offspring of Alexander and her deceased daughter. Initially, Catherine doesn't believe Agnes' claim. After a lengthy discussion, Catherine unwillingly allows to let them stay. Sebastian was upset by this sudden change, since he had to vacate the mansion and return to the servants' quarters. Next morning, Catherine wakes up feeling unwell and finds out that she is pregnant. However, when she goes to inform Sebastian, Teddy interrupts her. They end up walking to the open fields, where they engage in a friendly discussion about different types of birds and trees. Later, Catherine tries to approach Sebastian with a bottle of wine, hoping to soothe his anger. But Sebastian is still frustrated with Agnes and vents his frustrations at her. One day, Catherine spots Sebastian trailing behind Anna, which makes her jealous. As she tries to follow him, Teddy interrupts her again. In frustration, she scolds Teddy and pushes him away. Then, she calls Sebastian, but he ignores her call and follows Anna instead. In the evening, Teddy suddenly disappears, and everyone starts searching him in the woods. Few hours later, Sebastian finds the boy sitting alone by a river. He thought of eliminating the child, seeing it as a golden opportunity to regain his position. On the other side, Catherine and Agnes are anxious. Just then, Sebastian arrives, carrying Teddy in his arms, and he orders them to fetch a blanket to warm him up. However, Agnes finds it weird. She reminds Sebastian that he has no authority to issue orders since he is just a servant. Despite his noble act, Agnes' harsh words offend Sebastian. He storms out, heads to his quarters, and begins packing his luggage. Catherine urges him to stay and promises to do everything in her power to ensure they can remain together. After returning home, Catherine suggests Agnes to take some rest while she looks after the boy. But the look on her face shows her ulterior motives. Sebastian enters through a window and suffocates Teddy using a pillow. After the gruesome act, Sebastian runs back into the woods. Next day, Anna discovers Teddy's lifeless body beside Catherine and rushes to inform Agnes. When the doctor examines Teddy, the visible bruises make him suspicious. Like every time, Catherine remains emotionless and maintains her lie. Everyone begins to suspect her. Then suddenly, Sebastian enters the room and confesses every crime he and Catherine have committed. Overwhelmed with guilt, he reveals that Catherine poisoned her father-in-law and eliminated her husband and even the innocent boy, all to keep the love affair. However, Catherine denies these accusations and cleverly flips the narrative. Instead of accepting her fault, she accuses Anna and Sebastian of the murders. She states that her father-in-law was poisoned because he discovered Anna and Sebastian's affair and threatened to separate them. To justify herself, she asks Anna to speak the truth. But Anna remains silent, since she is the only one who knows Catherine is pregnant. As a result, Catherine's words overpower his confession, and Anna and Sebastian are considered guilty. They are apprehended by the authorities and taken away in a wagon. After witnessing so many incidents, everyone leaves the house, including maids, and Catherine is left alone with her unborn child. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you have any suggestions for future movies, please leave them in the comments section below. Until next time, take care. Goodbye.